That's good. Good to hear. Good to be here. It's an absolutely great venue. Love being on BUIDL Europe. Today I'm going to talk about near intents, some of the things that happened with the protocol, some of the things that are going to happen with the protocol in its current state. And since I'm recently getting the feedback about me not very applying the set of content that I'm kind of describing and showing to the people, would like to ask you a question. Have you been using or trying out the near intents itself? Whether either a user who has been swapping some crypto through near intents, or maybe you have your own distribution channel or a market maker who has been integrating with near intents. So please raise your hands if you tried it out. Okay, so some people tried, some people did not. So I'm going to start with the questions and some fundamental problems that near intents are addressing. So for a very, very long time, one of the biggest problems, and it is still one of the biggest problems for the crypto space, is the chain fragmentation. When we are talking about the protocols that are working within a single blockchain, like Ethereum, we have all of these very nice and very convenient features that are provided by this blockchain environment. And namely, I'm talking about the composability, and then there is like a single source of truth, single history of the transactions. And it's very, very nice to have this, just because it's your transaction, it is this number of this transaction in the block, it is executed, it has like a very specific outcome of it, and actually this transaction can touch multiple smart contracts and they can interact with each other. Things become a little bit worse in 2018 when prominent protocols like Near started to ship runtimes that are asynchronous. And then smart contract developers needed to think about, okay, if I'm doing a cross-contract call to another contract and then it fails, I need to somehow roll back the state changes in my first contract. So things became a little bit worse, but in general, when everything is inside of a single blockchain, even if it has a asynchronous runtime, things are more or less okay. But the real problem is how to make sure that different blockchains are able to work with each other. 5 years ago, people were asking this question, okay, are we going to end up in the multi-blockchain world? And I think that everybody can answer this question right now, very, very definitely, that we are living for many years in the multi-blockchain world, right? So we need to somehow figure out the problems of the chain fragmentations that are leading to all of these questions that are here on the slide. And there are some fundamental limitations to this, like cross-chain is asynchronous. You cannot execute a transaction on multiple chains or like an action on multiple chains at the same moment of time, just because blocks are not synchronized. Ethereum blocks are not synchronized with Near blocks, which are not synchronized with Bitcoin blocks, and it's actually good, right? And there are consensus algorithms different, many different things are different. So there are some fundamental limitations. But from the other standpoint, some of these problems can be elevated through the design principles of the applications that you're developing for the cross-chain world. So near intents, and all of these thoughts were taken by us in order to develop a near intents itself. What is near intents? This is a cross-chain protocol. You can think of it as some kind of layer 0 or wormhole on steroids, right? The core focus for us at this moment in time is just the swaps, cross-chain swaps, like a decentralized version of a centralized exchange. You can think of it like that. There is a protocol, it allows you to swap one token on one blockchain into the other token on the other blockchain, and this swap is performed in a decentralized manner, so there is no single trust and authority. You are not losing the custody of the assets that you have, all of that stuff. Imagine Binance with a backend that is inside of a smart contract. This is what near intents is right here, right now. We have a much wider ambition around it to allow for not only token swaps and not only even financial products to be integrated within the protocol, and the architecture allows to do this, but obviously the first and foremost use case for crypto is DeFi, and that's why we are focusing on this use case first too. So we managed to deliver the solution that allows you to perform very quick swaps with a similar user experience as on the centralized exchange, even if you are swapping Bitcoin to ETH. We figured out, and this is mainly thankfully to the blockchain protocol that we're using in the background, which is Near, how to do it very cheap and without any slippage. And with a sufficient means, security means that are able to synchronize these different blockchains that are involved within this process. Now, in order to, Now, Near Intents has been launched approximately 1 year ago, in November 2024, on the NearCon. It was first announced a little bit before that under the different name, but we launched it, and since then it was experiencing an exponential growth, and there are more than 25 different blockchains that are integrated already with Near Intents protocol. There are more than 100 assets that are tradable there. There are many distribution channels, including the ones that you most probably know, like Infinix, Trust Wallet, like Ledger itself, the hardware wallet. They have been integrating Near Intents, and these Near Intents integrations are already operational. So people who are performing swaps within these venues are indirectly getting an exposure to Near Intents. So maybe some of you have been using Near Intents without knowing that this is actually Near Intents who was working in the background. And we were able to achieve this only by coordinating quite a lot of resources within the Near ecosystem around it. The project started inside of the Aurora, but it was spun out as a separate entity, and I'm now leading this initiative. The company, the development organization is called Diffuse Labs. But besides that, we have lots of support from the core protocol team, Near DevHub, Proximity, Hot Wallet, and obviously Near Foundation. And this is where we got with the numbers of volume. We have been doubling our volume every single month for more than 6 months in 2025, last year, and we actually tripled our volume from September to October. And now Near Intents is the biggest cross-chain trading venue for all of the crypto. We're casually closing, more than 70-80 million US dollars of trading volume every single day, and the protocol just continues to grow. Definitely, we're hitting up the the top level of what the cross-chain market is. We cannot just trade more or allow people to trade more than there in the market of the natural volume. But still, the protocol is growing in the relative numbers in terms of the market share. And the very important thing, and the metric that I'm really proud about, is the success rate of the Near protocol. So when we're working, and here you can say it's the success rate of the Near Intents. And when we're working with the asynchronous systems, then obviously things may fail. Remember how many times you're sending a transaction to buy this meme coin on Solana and it's just not going through, right? That's the same thing that is going to happen within you trying to swap Bitcoin into this meme coin, right? So fails are natural for the asynchronous systems, and you cannot make it 100% the same way how you are having 100% success rate when you're calling a Uniswap smart contract, right? So it's just fundamentally this number cannot be 100%. But the more nines you're stacking there, the harder it is to design the system and have a proper architecture in order to deliver this. So, and I'm pretty proud for this number. This is in line with the best systems and very robust systems that are available out in the crypto market for sure, but also in many Web2 spaces. So now to tell you a little bit very shortly, this is a more technical part of the presentation here on how the near-intents are working, but I will try to go through this a little bit faster, and then on the video, if you would like to recall it and take a look into the slides deeper, you will be able to do it. Or alternatively, you can go to near-intents.org and go into the documentation. You're going to see a very similar flow there. So if we're talking about the way how near-intents are working and how this swap of Bitcoin into ETH is working under the hood, then it looks something like this. A user is asking the distribution channel, the front end, where he sees the swapping capabilities to perform a swap of Bitcoin into ETH. The front end calls the backend service that is called message bus and requests a quote from all of the market makers that are working within the near-intents protocol. They are returning this quote. The backend chooses the best possible variant, and then it returns back this variant to the distribution channel. At this moment in time, this quote is shown to the user, potentially with additional quotes because there are multiple cross-chain swapping providers out there. And then the user makes a decision on whether he wants to perform such a swap or not. And in case he does it, the user is transferring, it's ETH to Bitcoin, sorry. So the user is transferring the asset to a new one-time used address on the source chain. And this address is controlled by the multi-party computation network and lots of technicalities there. But like, there is a transfer of the assets. There is no call of a smart contract there. These assets are then being minted in a wrapped version inside of the Near protocol, and they're credited into the user account that the user even doesn't know that he has. The user account within the Near blockchain and within the smart contract, the so-called verifier smart contract within the Near protocol. And then this smart contract gets the message that gets the messages that were signed by the market makers and settles the trade. And it also gets the information about the trade from this deposit address in accordance with some specific protocol. He understands what are the parameters of the swaps, and then takes the signatures from the market makers, and then it settles this trade directly. So the user is not losing the control of the assets, right? So he's having the full control of the assets up until the moment when the assets are inside of this verifier smart contract, which checks the parameters of the swap. It checks that everybody has valid signatures, and then everybody has enough money to spend for this swap. And then it just swaps who owns what. You can think of this verifier smart contract as a gigantic backend of Binance where it is written who owns, which user owns what assets, right? So the smart contract is a settlement layer. And once there is a need to perform a withdrawal of this Bitcoin, then the user is actually triggering the withdrawal process. And then this smart contract releases these assets, and then through the chain signatures and additional primitives that are available, cross-chain primitives available inside of the Near protocol, the actual asset is released on the other side. And I understand that this is a little bit complicated, and it is complicated not only for you, but it is also complicated for the wallets. That's why what we did is we wrapped up this three-step process of deposit, swap, and then withdraw into one simple one-click swap API that has only 4 HTTP endpoints that can be used by anyone today and integrated within hours inside of any of the front ends who want to provide an ability to swap crypto assets for their own users. Literally, your AI agents are able to integrate one-click swap API directly into your products within hours, right here, right now, and this can become an additional revenue stream for your company and for your front end. And this is actually what Ledger did, Trust Wallet did, and many, many other distribution channels who are using NeuroIntents. Extremely simple. I would recommend everybody who have some kind of user base that you are working with to evaluate whether you would like to present to them this use case, and then just try out this API. Now, you can think of it as like, yeah, there is some kind of like bridging, there is some kind of settlement that is happening there. Where are all of these interesting things that Alex have been saying in the beginning of the presentation? How to make the blockchains more convenient when we're talking about the cross-chain interactions. And you're true, right? So this is a rightful question to ask. And obviously, the first answer to it is that through tools like one-click swap API, we're making it much more convenient to use for everybody, and that's why you have been seeing that growth of the NeuroIntents on the second slide. But there are some core design architecture principles that are bringing additional features, something that is better than just existing cross-chain swapping providers that you might know. And I would like to stop on this in a little bit more detail, right? So, and answer the question, what is unique in the NeuroIntents design? And first one is that we do not have any smart contract calls. The user who is using NeuroIntents is not performing any smart contract calls. And we have seen during the last year that you can call a smart contract, and if you are not fully understanding what you are calling and what is the content of the transaction that you're signing, you can easily lose 1.4 billion US dollars, right? So calling smart contracts, especially with blindsiding, is actually scary, especially in case inside of your wallet that you're using, you have lots of assets. Another thing is that it's not only the, I have ETH and I need to get the Bitcoin, but actually you can use the protocol as a custody provider for your assets, right? What does it mean? If you're deploying your assets inside of the Uniswap pool, then it's kind of like Uniswap smart contract is a place where you store your assets, right? So you can do the same with NeuroIntents. And if you store your assets inside of the protocols, well, then you don't need to, and then you deposit and withdraw just occasionally, then you're completely skipping the steps of depositing and withdraw, and then you only need to swap assets within the NeuroIntents. And here is the place where we are delivering 1-second swaps for everybody. This is how I can swap my Bitcoin into ETH in just 1 second. That's the same thing that happens on the centralized exchanges. You deposit assets there, and you can swap Bitcoin into ETH there. Very simple. But now, for the first time, you have this in a decentralized manner without trusting the custody solution of the centralized exchange. And that's also the fastest swaps possible. And then here I just forgot to say that you don't need to install for non-custodial setup, you don't need to install all of the different wallets for this. We also have some other things, and I hope that you have been reading through it. So complete gas abstraction, the user is not sending any transactions, the user only signs the messages. And then we also have the AML and KYT tools integrated because we are caring for users not getting black liquidity. But there are quite a lot of things that we are working on in order to improve NeuroIntents, both in the DeFi space and outside of it. There is in active development, there is a mechanism how to make sure that this protocol accrues value to Near. At the moment, the protocol has totally generated more than 15 million US dollar in fees. We are working on the agentic payments and escrow intents. We are working on making sure that the intents and the swapping and other additional things that are happening with the intents are private. And this is something that is going to be available for everybody pretty soon. And also some additional things that are listed here. So I'm running out of time here, but the last closing thought for you is very simple. If you're a user of a centralized exchange, then why are you trusting them with the custody of your assets? You can just go and use your intents in a decentralized manner, the same way how many millions of users are using your intents right now, and just remove additional trust assumptions. And if you have your own distribution channels, that's a great opportunity for you to extend your value proposition to the users. Thank you very much. Yeah, you can find me around.
Thank you, Alex.